Hey everyone. I hope everyone's doing super well today, and I hope everybody is nice and comfy and ready to listen to hear me yap. I know it's super thrilling experience. But today we're going to be talking about something super thrilling, which is the kinds of communication and what they do. So, I'm mostly going to be talking about verbal communication, nonverbal communication, physical communication, all that jazz. There's 1,000 million ways that we as humans communicate with one another, but these are just the kinds that I'm going to really go over today in depth. Starting off strong with, I'd say, probably the most recognizable form of communication, which is verbal communication. And this is, using words, conversations, phone calls, laughter, anything where you're projecting noise out of your mouth is some type of verbal communication. The nice thing about verbal communication is it's really explicit, right? There's way less room for confusion when you are communicating verbally because the words that you're saying out your mouth are being delivered with um, you have a certain tone, you have a certain pace that you uh, decide to say the words in. You're putting you're putting emphasis on the different words that you're saying, and in person that is usually translated much better than over the phone or in written language. Verbal communication, it allows for immediate clarification if there were to be anything misconstrued. So that's a really big bonus when, especially if you're like navigating conflict and you're discussing it verbally with the respective party. If there's anything that either one of you doesn't understand, um, you can, clear it up right away. And it's a lot easier to make things make sense on the spot. Or let's say you do like you're the one who misspoke. It wasn't what you said that was received the wrong way. It was you said something that you just didn't mean and it came out. And sometimes, like, it happens, we misspeak. Sometimes we say something in the wrong way, and even though that is what we said, it's not what we meant. And that's a lot easier to that's a lot easier of an idea to convey to somebody in person or verbally than it would be to try to type that out or just brush off or wave off. So yeah, verbal communication, it's honestly, I think, one of like the most it should be the most used form of communication when you are dealing with conflict. I always tell people, if they're ever having any issues, just go and talk to the person. And that doesn't mean text them. That doesn't mean send them a DM. It means go and speak to them, because there's too many things that can just be miscommunicated in other forms of communication. Now, on the other hand, we have nonverbal communication. And nonverbal communication is any communication that happens without speaking is nonverbal communication. So we have facial expressions, eye contact, body posture, gestures, um, even like your acts of love or hate, depends. But, gift giving or hateful gift giving, I guess, will send a message and it's not verbal. It counts as nonverbal, but it definitely does. It's a vessel of communication, that's for sure. So the nice thing about nonverbal communication is because you're not speaking, um, it is showing a lot through your actions, and it shows a lot about your intentions, right? So this is where you get to see people's emotions and see how they really feel. Somebody could be telling you something and saying something to you, but their face and their body language is saying something completely different. And that's an important um, thing to note when you are speaking to people is their body language matching up with their verbal language, because we have more practice in controlling what we say and what we speak. It's easy to tell a lie and it's easy to tell the truth, but it's a lot harder to hide our facial expressions and maintain contact and keep our blood pressure at bay when something is going on. Like, it's something that just happens without us even realizing it. So it's a really huge teller to others about what we are actually feeling and what our true intentions are. So, with verbal communication, right? Let's say you're speaking to someone and you say something they might not like, and they're not going to explicitly tell you that, but they, furrow their brows a little bit when you're presenting said idea to them that they don't agree with. You as the person speaking, you're going to receive that information and sort of be like, oh, this person is not happy with what I just said and does not like what I just said, and for some reason won't tell me that that's how they feel, but I still see that and I still know that. So in that scenario, you can sort of pry at them and get them to open up and what they really are expecting from you. Though this may seem similar to nonverbal communication, it's a little bit different. Let's talk about physical communication. So physical communication, how we communicate either through touch or physical interactions like handshakes, hugs, high fives, standing close or far away from someone, anything like that where you are sort of connecting. Your physical communication is either putting yourself in someone's space or taking yourself out of someone's space. And this can tell you a lot about how someone's feeling and what they're thinking without any words being said. So, physical communication, the nice thing about it is it'll really build your trust and comfort with somebody else. The more that we connect on a physical level, and in the very much appropriate way, the more we connect in, physically, the better, like the easier it'll be for us to sort of ease up around other people. There's something about, having physical touch involved with a situation that will help reinforce a bond in a relationship, right? And then on the other hand, if there's a lack of physical communication, that'll tell you a lot about how someone's feeling about you as well. So, if you're having a conversation with someone and they're standing away from you, or anytime you are move closer to them, you're backing up, these are things that are telling us that maybe that person's uncomfortable, or maybe that person does not want to be around me right now, or maybe that person does not want to speak to me right now. And then in the same way, if, someone's being very up close and personal or in your space, that'll tell you, hey, maybe this person wants to be around me more, or maybe this person likes what I'm saying, or maybe this person is in agreement with me. Being able to communicate without actually communicating is important, because it gives the illusion that you are almost verbally communicating. Like physical communication feels like you're communicating through your minds with another person, right? Because you being near them, or you being gentle with them, or you being rough with them, and you being away from them will ultimately show you where your mindset is and where their mindset is at. With all of these forms of communication, well, most of them, it's important on how you say it, what your body is saying, and what you tell others about your feelings towards them. How you say things and what your body says are going to go hand in hand when you're trying to convey something to somebody else, right? Usually with these kinds of communication, there's two of them going on at the same time, or more than one is going on at the same time, right? So with verbal communication, there's usually nonverbal or physical signs that are, being shown. Um, there's ways that they can, you can put them together and make them sort of tell you one thing about the other. You can analyze somebody's verbal communication and compare it to their nonverbal communication and really get a bigger picture about their emotional state and their feelings towards you and where they are in the conversation that you're having and the position that they are putting themselves in. The most important thing about communicating is just how you're doing it and being really careful and intentional. Um, Obviously, in some cases, there's certain things that are uncontrollable. Like I said before, we do misspeak sometimes. We do make facial expressions that we can't control. Um, but, there's a reason why certain things come out the wrong way uh, without us thinking first. And there's a reason why we might make a face at something when, we really didn't mean to in front of another person. And understanding what it is that is making us say something a certain way or having our body react in a way that we're not fully in control of is a big part of improving your communication skills and improving your mental clarity on issues that you're facing in your life. Um, if we think before we speak or if we think before we do, then those are little steps that we're taking to reach a bigger picture. If you're constantly just acting and doing without any thought, you're never going to get into the habit of really being intentional with your communication. We all notice things. People notice when somebody is behaving a certain way, and people notice when somebody is not behaving a certain way, right? It's You're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for the sake of other people. And that's something that, even though we can talk about, internal communication or communication with other people, it's something that is simultaneously going on, and both aspects of communication are equally important to try to improve upon so that they can both work together in order for you to be a better communicator to others in the future and to yourself.